This is all about Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related to Bitcoin. Little b for the currency and big B for the network, a collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation, all Bitcoin, all the time. Checking in on Bitcoin right now, CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index at 17,732, shooting up about 4% over the past 24 hours. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data. Here's our CoinDesk Bitcoin News Roundup. Sam Bankman-Fried, founder of crypto exchange FTX and hedge fund Alameda Research, arrested and charged with, quote, one of the biggest financial frauds in American history, according to the Southern District of New York. The SDNY indicting Bankman-Fried on 8 counts around 4 areas of misconduct, including defrauding FTX.com customers, lenders to Alameda, FTX investors, and committing campaign finance violations. This comes as Bankman-Fried knowingly commingled funds between FTX and Alameda Research, according to current FTX CEO John J's explosive testimony before Congress today. Have a listen.
This company was sort of uniquely positioned to fail. The lack of discipline on control of the wallets, their storage, the storage of passwords, allowing multiple users to set up accounts.
And U.S. prosecutors filing a litany of charges against Bankman-Fried, including wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and campaign finance violations early Tuesday. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission also charging Bankman-Fried for defrauding investors of his platform. Bankman-Fried was arrested Monday evening in the Bahamas at the U.S.'s request and is scheduled to appear before a local magistrate court today. Joining us now to discuss this news is former chief of Southern District of New York's Complex Frauds and Cybercrime Unit, Timothy Howard, currently a partner at law firm Fresh Fields. Timothy, what a day. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to and read the SDNY's indictment, but was hoping you could break it down for us, as well as the SEC complaint and the Department of Justice indictment.
So I have had a chance to review the complaints from the various regulators here and watch the press conference. It's some pretty dazzling allegations across multiple instruments. The SEC complaint provides a significantly more detail than the indictment, which is more typical of what you see from an SEC complaint, kind of walking through their allegations in a number of ways in which they claim that SBF knowingly lied to different parties, including both investors and customers, through many different mediums, through the terms of service and contracts with customers, through discussions with potential investors, both in the first, the preliminary 3 rounds of funding, about $1 billion that FTX raised, but also in 2022 to cover some of the losses that Alameda was having. There's also allegations about lies that he made on Twitter, to Congress, and to the media, which all tie into SEC's charges. SDNY and DOJ presented an 8-count indictment, as you mentioned, with a number of charges focusing on wire fraud, for separate counts for lies to customers and the allegation is that they felt the representations were that their funds would be protected and not commingled and sent to places like Alameda, as well as counts relating to fraud on the investors, much like the SEC is charging, securities fraud related to the 2022 period, when again the allegations are that Sam Bankman-Fried made misrepresentations about the financial health of FTX to investors to get money during this period, money laundering for concealing where the source of illegal proceeds of the wire fraud, as well as election fraud related to donations to political candidates. And according to the U.S. Attorney, who's Damian Williams, who spoke about an hour ago, that related to a scheme to contribute political contributions to both Democrats and Republicans, made to look like there were other wealthy people that were making the donations, but were actually all alter egos of Sam Bankman-Fried, who was coordinating all of the donations above campaign finance limits.
Fascinating. And so there's potential for those political contributions to be clawed back. I wonder how the SDNY on the state level, the DOJ on the federal level, and the SEC on the federal level all work together and coordinate all of this. How would it work? And
So,
FTX, by the way, is an international entity too, as well. So there's that element as well in terms of jurisdiction.
right. So SDNY and CFTC and SEC all come with various authorities. SDNY has a lot of experience coordinating with other regulators in parallel investigations, taking advantage of the different authorities to bring cases against individuals that they are accusing of misconduct. And SDNY also has, including in the cases I supervised back when there, a long history of prosecuting cases with significant international elements, including in the crypto space.
All right. Now, Sam Bankman-Fried has been effective in confusing the media, injecting doubt, making it sound like this was all a mistake. And we have a clip from today's House Financial Services Committee hearing. Let's have a listen.
Is all of this just one big mistake? It looks to me like there may be some malfeasance here. Would you consider this to be sincere ignorance?
I don't want to put labels on it. Ultimately, like others will judge him by his actions.
I find it difficult to believe that we're dealing with conscientious stupidity. This is not going to be tolerated.
All right, so the question here is there a difference between a mistake and malfeasance when weighing guilt in SEC and criminal charges?
So I think more critical with the criminal charges, and this is something that I saw as a fraud prosecutor and supervisor for a long time, the classic defense of it's not a crime to be a bad businessman, to make bad decisions. It's a crime to lie or run an organization where you were aware that lies were being made to investors and customers to take their money. So the challenge here is whether or not Sam Bankman-Fried can make that defense credibly, given all of the other evidence that is alleged in these various documents, particularly the SEC document, which gives us some more detail regarding things that he directly said to investors and to the media and all of these things, compared to evidence about his conduct and FTX's conduct. So it's the question is whether the jury is going to find it credible that he really didn't know what was going on and didn't, had no idea and didn't have the criminal intent to be criminally liable.
I guess that's the key here, because he's often said that he wasn't aware of commingling funds. And so what is the key action that needs to be proved here, that he actually had intent and knew that this was happening?
So again, for fraud cases, it's going to be, it's going to be intent, criminal intent. What did he know? What should he have known? He can also be held liable for turning willfully blind to certain things. So the question is, what are the documents going to say about his knowledge about these things? What activities was he directly involved with? And what do other witnesses say? What we can't tell from an indictment, which only walks through, the criminal charges to give notice of the types of charges and the types of conduct with which he is charged, is we don't know the kinds of evidence that SDNY has at its disposal. And here, where you have a world where you have a number of aggrieved investors and customers who lost billions of dollars, and employees that could have been damaged from the fallout here. You don't know who are the witnesses that may be coming forward to DOJ and FBI to be potential witnesses here, cooperating witnesses if they're involved, or just fact witnesses to things that Sam Bankman-Fried might have said or done.
And at the same time, the Bahamas has their own set of charges that they want to file. They also filed for Chapter 15 bankruptcy in the SDNY. How does that all coordinate and come together?
Well, there are going to be many different, parties that are looking for relief. There's going to be civil litigation. There's going to be the creditors that are becoming for bankruptcy. There's the criminal process. There's SEC that will likely be on hold while the criminal action goes forward if a stay is sought. So all of these are going to come together. One interesting element of the bankruptcy, if we start to think about what kinds of evidence might be available for the government against Sam Bankman-Fried is we saw the testimony of the new CEO. In bankruptcy, there's a new management team. They reportedly met with SDNY, I believe that was last week, and they may believe that it's in the best interest of the FTX, the surviving entity, to be very cooperative. So they may very well have made the decision to provide documents and witnesses and be very proactive in their cooperation, like we saw in some cases when I was at SDNY with bankrupt entities that had new management.
Interesting. Timothy, thank you so much for your analysis. That was Freshfield's partner and former chief of SDNY's Complex Frauds and Cyber Crime Unit, Timothy Howard. Coming up, we've got some BTC price analysis amid the FTX fallout, November inflation data, and the Fed rate hike decision to be made tomorrow with trader Gareth Soloway of Verified Investing Crypto. Welcome to CoinDesk TV, your 24/7 news source in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and digital asset space.
People use digital assets for hundreds of reasons.
Every single asset in the world is going to be digital.
I feel like Gen Z could really take this space and run with it.
What's going on here, guys? What are we doing?
We're breaking this news on your channel.
There is so much interest in getting into crypto right now.
I don't foresee any glass ceiling anytime soon with this.
Here's our CoinDesk Bitcoin News Roundup.
It's great for the world. It's very bad for Bitcoin.
This is amazing. I want one of these. I know there's only 250 of them.
Tune in 24/7 to CoinDesk TV.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
Bitcoin outperforming relative to altcoins on a week-on-week basis in what appears to be a flight to safety. Due primarily to BTC's outperformance, the market cap-weighted CoinDesk Currency Select Index has outperformed the CoinDesk Currency X Bitcoin Select Index on a week-on-week basis. Bitcoin probably benefited from flows stemming from the unease about the health of the dominant cryptocurrency exchange Binance. BTC's dominance rate rose to over 41%, the highest since October 29th. Historically, traders have piled into Bitcoin, lifting its dominance rate during times of stress in the broader market. The Central Park Capital portfolio manager Lewis Harlan calling the move, quote, a textbook de-risking market signal in a daily market note. The Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by KuCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem. Joining us now to discuss Bitcoin price and more is Gareth Soloway. He's the chief market strategist at Verified Investing Crypto. Gareth, great to have you on the show. So there's a lot of fear in the markets with Sam Bankman-Fried and his arrest, the collapse of FTX, as well as Binance, which has halting withdrawals on USDC stablecoins. What does that mean for BTC here?
It definitely does create a little bit of worry within the investing public, and we know we already have that with the bear market that we're seeing. But I actually look at the arrest of Sam Bankman-Fried as one step in the healing process of the crypto markets. And again, you have to have these individuals be held accountable. It's part of that healing process to get people to trust again in the crypto markets. And it's really one more thing that should lend kind of the solidity to bringing forth not only transparency, but also bigger money to come back in. I don't think the lows are in just yet in crypto, but it certainly is getting closer and closer with these events.
Now, we're talking about lows, but today, certainly in the green, up almost 4% for Bitcoin, jumping after the U.S. Consumer Price Index report showed slower than expected November inflation. Dive into that for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So we saw the CPI data come in better than expected, meaning that it was a little bit less inflationary than the market had worried, right? So the key is that right away started the markets ripping to the upside. We saw Bitcoin moving above $18,000 for just a short period of time. The NASDAQ 100 was up over 4%, which is a humongous move for that market. But interestingly enough, we've actually seen the markets come back in. And if you dissect the CPI data, a lot of that lower inflation was due to the reduction in oil price. And we've seen oil come down from well over $100 a barrel to basically in the mid 70s now. And so again, the market is saying, okay, what's the real reason here? Is it food that's being reduced? Is it really overall inflation? Or is it just one or two components that have dropped precipitously? And then we're also looking towards that Fed statement tomorrow. And again, that's putting investors on a very uneasy path. We know Jerome Powell does not want asset prices to skyrocket because it adds to the inflation pressure. You get 401ks up, you get Bitcoin accounts up. Everything makes people feel richer when it goes higher. It makes people want to spend more money, which then creates a kind of supply-demand disruption. And that, again, causes prices to go up. So it's very uneasy right now where you have investors having to realize that the Fed is not on their side for the first time since 2009 in this economy and in basically asset prices.
What are you expecting out of the Fed tomorrow? What are you watching for?
Yeah, so the number one thing is they're going to raise interest rates by 50 basis points. That's a slightly lower raise than we've seen the past four meetings. We've seen 75 basis points each of the last four meetings. So they're going to be coming down, and I think they'll continue to reduce. The next one should be 25 basis points, and eventually we'll get to zero hikes. But remember, zero hikes doesn't mean they're reducing interest rates. It just means interest rates won't go up any further. So I think investors have to be ready for this Fed that's not a friend to the market. It likely will push the economy into recession and probably global recession across the board to really get inflation down to 2%, which is kind of their long-term mandate. And so investors have to be ready for that. And I think this is going to be one of the this 2023 is going to be one of the interesting periods where we see, in my opinion, Bitcoin start to flip from a risk asset to more of a safety play. And I think you'll see that when it bottoms out in 2023, you'll see investors start to look at it more like a safe haven in an otherwise uncertain environment.
Gareth, we got to wrap it up, but before we leave, target price on Bitcoin?
Bottom should be around $9,000 in May or June of this year, and then I think you start heading back up.
All right, Gareth, thanks so much. That was Verified Investing Crypto Chief Market Strategist, Gareth Soloway. That's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lee. We'll do it all over again tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern. Also join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for First Mover.